Opening night is tomorrow as the Wheeling Nailers get set to begin their 31st season here in the Ohio Valley as they take on the Toledo Walleye at 7:10. Yesterday, you got to find out who all will be playing on the Nailers team this year, and let's talk about that with Nailers head coach Derek Army. And Derek, what do the words opening night mean to you? It has to send some chills down your spine.
Yeah, I think any time, opening night is, for anyone is special. It's you've been waiting from the end of the season all the way till now. The fans are waiting. It's just you have this kind of marathon, if you will, of all summer recruiting and getting guys, talking to agents, and you finally have put the team together. And then there's curveballs thrown at you left and right. You go through Pitt camp and Wilkes camp, and then you go through your camp, and there's still curveballs thrown at you. And then now you finally get your team, and you're just it's one of those for me. I'm just excited to see what some guys can do. I'm excited to be back on the ice. I'm excited to be back on the ice in Wheeling and in front of our fans.
There are players that you knew when you started to get your training camp roster put together that were going to make this team, people that fans know very well. The Cam Hossingers, the Adam Smiths of the world, Josh Maniscalco. So you utilized the 2 preseason games to give other guys a chance. What did you think about the battles and the compete level? Did it make some really difficult choices earlier this week?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to win both games. I think, looking at our lineups, there was a large chunk of their players that played, and we rested our guys. Now, I think it's different if we didn't have anyone play in the AHL preseason. We were able to have quite a few of our guys play some of them 3 games in the American League. So there was no sense in us having them play here. I wanted to see. I think for us, one of the biggest question marks, which was a question mark last year as well, was the 3rd and 4th line players that we had and the depth players. And for me, that's the reason is because in the mid-season, when you need to rely on guys, they have to be able to do it and step up in those roles when, guys are called up. For example, last year with Alfie and Hutch and Waddy, guys had to step up who were Jared Cockrell and obviously Haas and stepped up last year, and Joe's was gone. And now all of a sudden you got to plan ahead finding those guys. And we have some time to get the team ready for that, and we have our guys now, but who's to say in 2 months? So that was important to see where guys were at, and some guys who I maybe had some higher expectations for. It just didn't work out with our lineup, and there's other guys who really stepped up and played well. But overall, as far as the games went, I was happy with the result. I was happy with the effort. I didn't expect there to be a perfect systems or anything like that, but I was happy with the overall effort of everything.
Good news, I'm not going to make you go through all 25 players and say something about all 25, but let's look at position by position how you built this thing, starting with the goaltenders. There were times last year where you went with 2, there were times last year you went with 3. Why is 3 the right amount now, and how do you feel about that goaltending depth?
Yeah, I think, looking at last year when we ran into it, now it was all over the league, but we ran into a situation where at one point we thought we had 4 goalies. And then we move one of the goalies, and then all of a sudden Wilkes holds a guy, and then another goalie gets called up. So we went from 4 to 1 within like a 2-day span. So with how the league with how it handles in the league in terms of the turnover and goaltenders, and us probably losing some games at times with those situations, it was important for me to make sure we had depth there. And I think bringing the guys that we did in, I really like where our goaltending situation was at, even without, getting help from Wilkes and Pitt. And then now you get 2 really good goaltenders from Wilkes and Pitt, and we also at the same time have a goalie who's got great experience in the ECHL as well as the American Hockey League. And so we feel confident that all 3 goalies could come in and stand tall and have our back. And I think it's important to have 3 because you just don't know injury-wise, within the organization. For some odd reason, it has seemed like, Casey and Jari, it's been hard to stay healthy at the same time. So last year you had a season ender with Lindbergh. And so for us, it's just making sure we are have a safety net to fall on if something were to happen.
Move out to the blue line, and it looks like you have a really cool mix there where you have guys that are so offensive minded, and that's not to take away from their defensive abilities because they're very good as well, but Maniscalco, Ortiz, and Hannes seem like guys you're going to be relying on to move the puck, put points on the board. Then you have guys like Smith and Drake who are very, very good matching up against top team forwards.
Yeah, so I like the decor a lot. I think there is that great mixture of players that you have in terms of some size and physicality, but also that finesse. And Chris Ortiz is not an easy guy to defend. Josh Maniscalco is not an easy guy to defend. Clay Hannes will, he's new, but he'll be shaded by some of those guys. He doesn't have to fill a hard role early in his pro career. And that's where I think it'll be very good for him in his career. And then I think for the guys we have, I trust Draker and Smitty with the Mayo a lot. They play in all hard situations. And now you add in a guy like Davis Buns and Louis Rail, who in their college experience come from winning programs and play in hard situations. And for us, Dylan Peters is another guy who kind of came on the scene and really surprised us in camp, has had a great camp. And the reason he's on our roster, we think he can really help us down the road. But it's one of those that right now we feel this confidence in all 8 of our defensemen. And then on top of it, you have Jack Van Boekel, who's coming off an injury here. Hopefully we have him soon, but I really like where we're at defensively.
Jumping ahead to the forwards now. A lot of fans have asked this summer, well, you lose Patrick Watling, you lose Justin Almeida, who's going to score the goals for you? But Cam Hossinger had a dynamite playoff for you. Sean Josling's going to be a top 6 guy, I feel like, for you. Who else is going to score some goals?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard when you look at, last year and the 4 guys you lose are Alfaro, Hutchison, Watling, and Almeida. And, they were phenomenal for us. And they played in every situation. They produced for us. But for us, that's the nature of the league. Now we've moved them on. That's great. But now filling those spots, I think Haas will continue to step up. Joe's has shown that he's a scorer. Carter Johnson, who we just picked up in the trade for McPherson, had a really good year last year. He matched the same totals as Tim Doherty in his first season. So I think there's some stuff there. He reminds me a lot of Alfie. I think there's something there with him. On top of it, Cedric Desrousseaux reminds me a lot of Meads in the similarities in times of how they pick spots offensively. So we'll rely on a guy like like him. And then, Brooke Kalmakov was elite scorer in the QMJHL. He's got high expectations within this organization. So there are some guys there that can really produce.
We look at offense a lot of times with the forwards, but what other intangibles do your forwards have in this group?
Yeah, I mean, for us, a big loss at the start of, camp is a guy named Matt Curcia. So obviously everyone knows him from his Game 7 winner, but he's a guy we had high expectations for, and unfortunately he had surgery in the preseason. But he's an intangible guy. Felix Perret is an intangible guy. He was a great year last year. I think we played him so much that he ran out of gas a little bit at the end. I think he'll be really fresh and ready to go and kind of take on a second year. But he's a real utility type player. Bobby Hampton's a utility type player. Sam Tremblay is very physical. I'm excited to kind of see him round out that third line, see what they can bring. And then after that, there's guys that we're looking to step up. Justin Adamo had a big college career at RMU, and see what he can do now as a pro. Tyler Drevich, is loved by the fans, and he gives you everything he has. So there's a lot that we're excited about, and I think there's a lot of spots that can be taken down there from guys if they're hungry and play the right way.
Sounds like you're very happy about the group that you were able to put together for this year.
Yeah, I think you work so hard that there's obviously curveballs, like I say. There's a couple of guys that we'd love to have back, but don't, and that's okay. So we plan accordingly within the depth. We thought we had guys that could fill the roles, and some guys have really stepped up. And now there's a lot of rookies, and there's a lot of youthness to our team, but it's one that you got to learn through trial. You got to learn in the fire, and that's where we were good last year, is because we were really young, and guys were hungry to learn, and guys were hungry with a good core leadership. And I think we have that same mold this year. And I think the biggest thing is that everyone buys into what being a Wheeling Nailer is, and I think that's the thing we've seen so far at camp.
Well, I know all the fans are just as excited as I am, and you are too, to see what this team can do this year. A lot of excitement, a lot of great buzz right now, so definitely looking forward to seeing what this team can do tomorrow on opening night.
Yes, me too, and excited to see the fans again. All of us are, as a team, the players, everyone's really excited to be back in our home building, to see you guys, and we just obviously can't get enough of the support you've given us through the playoffs, through everything in my time here. So we look forward to another season.
Puck drops at 7:10 tomorrow and 4:10 Sunday, both games against the Toledo Walleye. You can get your tickets at wheelingnailers.com or by calling 304-234-GOAL. Also, it's the Superstars coming out tomorrow night. We'll have a magnetic schedule giveaway and a post-game skate on Sunday. For Derek Army, I'm DJ Abasella. We'll see you at the rink tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night.